If I were to ask you, where was Jesus' ministry headquarters, you might guess Galilee, and you would be partially correct. But within Galilee, his headquarters was in a town called Capernaum. I know if you'd be like me, when you read the Gospels, you see Capernaum, Bethany, Bethesda, Bethlehem, and all these names go flying over our head, and we don't necessarily know what's the significance or the difference between these respective towns. Well, today's video, we're going to look into 3 reasons why Jesus chose Capernaum as his ministry headquarters. But first, where is Capernaum? Capernaum is at the northern end of Israel, on the north shore of the Sea of Galilee. There was lots of fishing going on, and that's why when Jesus was going through there, he called Andrew and Peter and James and John as they were fishing, because they were a part of the major commercial industry that was happening there in Capernaum. But also, there was a major highway that went through there called the Via Maris, or the Way of the Sea. And that was the major highway by which travelers would go from Egypt to Mesopotamia or to Damascus. It also was a border town. Immediately to the northeast of Capernaum was a different region. And so all these travelers coming on this major highway had to pay taxes and tariffs. As a result, we have tax collectors and Roman soldiers. Capernaum is not a backwater little village in Israel. It is a major bustling center of commerce and travelers. So why did Jesus choose Capernaum? The first reason was because it was prophetic. Matthew chapter 4, verse 15 and 16 points out what Isaiah had prophesied 700 years before Jesus. The land of Zebulun and the land of Naphtali, the way of the sea, beyond the Jordan, Galilee of the Gentiles. The people dwelling in darkness have seen a great light, and for those dwelling in the region and shadow of death, on them a light has dawned. Isaiah is prophesying that the Messiah is going to come in the area of Zebulun and Naphtali, which is Galilee, on the way of the sea, which is that major highway, beyond the Jordan, Galilee of the Gentiles. During Isaiah's time, the way of the sea, even 700 years before, everybody knew what Isaiah was talking about. And now Matthew's pointing out Jesus is fulfilling that prophecy as the Messiah. Number 2, I believe Jesus chose Capernaum strategically because there's people coming and going. People hear the message of Jesus, go back to their home and spread among their family and community. People could access him, could get to him. So I believe it was strategic to position himself where it would get the message out more efficiently. It was also strategic because who's going to kill Jesus later in the story? It's the leaders of the Jews. They were down in Jerusalem mostly. They controlled that space. So Jesus is not afraid of them. But in the beginning of his ministry, he's setting up very far away. The Jewish leaders have no concern for Galilee. They don't care. And so Jesus had the complete freedom to train his disciples and get his movement moving. Of course, Jesus is going to come down to Jerusalem at a later point and have those confrontations. But in the beginning, he can be up there in Galilee and Capernaum and the whole area completely outside their range. Lastly, the third reason is before we get to the final reason, if you have a heart to strategically spread the gospel around the world, your generosity would make it possible for us at Catalyst World Partners to do exactly that. So if you'd like to help, just click the link in the description and make a donation. Lastly, the third reason is it's revelatory. Jesus is revealing to us the heart of God by going to Capernaum. Now, as much as Capernaum was indeed a bustling town and there was money there, it was low in status. Most of Israel looked down on the Galileans. They had an accent they didn't respect. There was so many Gentiles living up there, and even the Jews up in that area were not as orthodox, as pure in their practices. And so the area of Galilee was looked down upon. But you know, Jesus doesn't care about the respect. He doesn't need the accolades. He saw in that area that there was spiritual need, and he saw there was physical need because we see him casting out demons and healing the sick and doing all that physical ministry. And also he's teaching them because he had compassion on them and he loved them. It didn't bother him that it was low status, but he went into that dark place to bring the hope, to save the lost, regardless of the status. So we see in this the heart of Jesus, the heart of God.